everybody knows that the sequel is always better than the original.
No, not always. Usually not.
This time we're about to prove you wrong.
This is the TruthPup Podcast with Jake and Cathy, a Catholic take on faith and culture. Be sure to subscribe.
You asked, and we're bringing it to you. This is part 2 of Getting to Know Cake, Jake and Cathy. I am Jake.
And I'm Cathy.
And this is the TruthPup Podcast, giving you a Catholic take on faith and culture, helping you to live out your faith in modern day society. Pulling the curtains back a little bit, babe, and putting each other on the hot seat. Yeah.
So last time we did part 1 of Getting to Know Cake. And so today we're going to do part 2. And you asked us some questions that we want to get to.
Don't.
So...
Well, actually, can I jump in? This was not on the question list, but just because we brought it up, what sequel would you actually say was better than the original?
Oh, Shrek 2. I really like Shrek 2. And
I could see that.
That was really good. It was better than the first one.
I would agree with you.
What is your favorite movie?
Oh, I'm definitely going to have to say it's a toss-up between It's a Wonderful Life, but that's a great Christmas movie. So I'm going to also have to say I love that Alfred Hitchcock movie called The Lady Vanishes. It was actually, well, first of all, I'm a huge Hitchcock nerd. Let me just make that clear. I think it was just the best Alfred Hitchcock movie. It was the last one he made in Great Britain. It's about a young woman who meets this elderly lady on a train, and the elderly lady goes missing. She suddenly vanishes, and everybody tries to convince her that this elderly lady never was there in the first place. So it's a drama, it's a comedy, it's wrapped into a thriller. It's just a lot of fun. Cathy, you know that I make a point of watching it once a year at least. At
least once a year. And it has to be a specific time too. It can't be any part of the year. It has to be in late August.
Well, my rationale is that was the first time I saw the movie, so it kind of brings me back to the first time I saw it. And then I'm like, well, if I'm going to watch it anytime, I'm going to get tired of it at some point. So yes, I do have kind of that seasonal movie calendar where, of course, Christmas time coming up soon. It's a Wonderful Life will be on that list soon.
Yeah.
What's your favorite?
Well, I don't really have a lot of favorites. I kind of like things based on how I'm feeling. But if I did have to pick a movie that I could watch over and over again, it would have to be Back to the Future. I do like the second one. That is one where the sequel is really good, but the first one is just
first one's classic.
The best.
So good. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a movie I would put on the summer movie list for a good summer blockbuster if I'm going to watch it.
I could watch that any time of year, I think.
Yeah. It's good. I love it.
The next one is, what is your favorite way to pray or your favorite prayer?
Okay, you go first on this one.
Okay, yeah. Well, I love to pray with scripture, specifically praying a prayer technique called Lectio Divina. And, it kind of has like 5 different steps. And I know you don't really like the steps, babe. You kind of get caught up in that, like, oh, am I doing this right? I just say, like, it doesn't matter, how you do it, as long as you're reading scripture and then meditating on it and then listening to what the Lord has to say and then responding to the Lord. That's really what it is. And you can just hear God speaking to you in very specific ways through scripture. What's your favorite way to pray?
So as you know, babe, I absolutely love to sit in adoration in front of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament. And I wouldn't always say that this was my favorite way to pray, but over the last several years, I have experienced a lot of healing from my own struggles with anxiety just by simply resting, because I can be such a doer so often in my life where I'm finding my worth in how much I'm getting done throughout the day or in my tasks, my ability to perform. And I really found such a comfort in just sitting in front of Jesus and using imaginative prayer. So, picturing myself just spending time with Jesus and talking to him and just telling him about my day, or not even necessarily having conversation.
Where do you picture yourself with Jesus? Like you say, you picture yourself with Jesus. Like, is there a specific place that you think about? I
got this advice from Father Sean Grismer, who we actually feature on TruthPup Radio. He's one of our ministry partners. And at a mission one time, he talked about thinking about your happy place, right? So having Jesus show you, where do I feel the most at peace? And so for me, I would say that I often like to just think about hanging out at a cabin in the Smoky Mountains.
Oh, nice. That's
right?
cozy.
Yeah, because I really think that's a good way to really kind of reset our hearts and reset our minds.
Yeah, I like to picture myself at a garden, spending time with Jesus, and like a beautiful garden, and Mary and Saint Joseph are also there. And
I love that.
That's something that I like to imagine during adoration. So as we're talking about prayer, sometimes that brings about routines, especially like, when do you pray? Do you pray in the morning? Do you pray in the evening? So what is your morning routine like?
Well, you know that I can be kind of go in the morning, right? So this is where we're a little different, where I myself, I'll wake up after I'm getting ready. I take our dog, Chloe, the TruthPup, outside, and I'm just ready to go because I'm just like, boom, like I have a hard time really like doing deep prayer in the morning. So what I'll try to do is just do more simple prayers. So I'll start with a morning offering, just giving Jesus my day, offering up whatever sufferings I'm going through, and say like, God, like, please use this. I'll try to pray like a few Hail Marys, St. Michael prayer, for a few Marian prayers, but really that's about it. I try not to put too much pressure on myself to really do that deep dive imaginative prayer in the morning, because if I do, I don't think I'm going to really experience as much fruit as I would until I get to adoration. So I usually try to get to whether it's an adoration chapel at our parish nearby or just an adoration chapel where I work. Very grateful that I have that opportunity. So whenever I can actually get to adoration is when I start actually trying to simply rest and do that deeper prayer. Because Dr. Sri talks a lot about that like so often in our day, like we can do simple prayers, but making time, maybe about 15 to 20 minutes a day where we can really just turn off our minds and invite Jesus in. That's where we can really experience a deeper fruit.
I actually like to pray that way in the morning. Really, I like to start my day that way. Yeah. And actually, I always start my day with the Angelus because I usually wake up right around 6 or so. And then one thing that servant of God Michelle Dupont taught me through her podcast ministry, she said when you get out of bed, the first thing you should do is pray the morning offering. So I pray the Angelus in bed, and then I get up and then I pray the morning offering. And then I make a daily examen, which I know you're technically supposed to make that in the evening, because you're reviewing your day. But I tried that and I literally fell asleep while I made my examen. Every time I would start my examen and then I would fall asleep. So I'm like, okay, I got to do this in the morning. So that's the next prayer I pray. And I do this while I'm getting ready for the day.
Yeah.
And then that's when I start my Lectio Divina. That's when I start trying to pray with scripture. And I like to just sit with a cup of coffee on our couch and just be with Jesus and just spend time with him. And that's kind of my love language, like quality time. And so like that's my way of spending time with Jesus. And I have to start my day with this. And if I don't, like something feels off. Like if I don't get this prayer time in, my whole day will be thrown off and I won't be as at peace.
Yeah. I think a good encouragement for us is, whatever we can start with, be gentle with yourself. So don't put a lot of pressure on yourself if you're thinking, I'm not doing enough prayer. Like, God is a loving Father who just loves to spend time with you. So if you can give him, maybe start with 5 minutes tomorrow and just invite him in and, build up, right? I mean, God isn't this taskmaster who's expecting us to make prayer like homework, right? He just simply wants your heart. And Dr. Sri uses this example of a little kid who just has a kind of a bad drawing, but gives it to the parent with a smile. And that's still precious to a parent. And your prayer is precious to God, no matter what you can bring.
Yeah. I remember he said, even if you have nothing to give God that nothing. Like, even when you can't do anything at all, like you feel like you can't even form words, give God that. And he is pleased with that.
Okay, so one more lighter question. We were talking about Chloe the TruthPup earlier on the episode, and babe, you had a question related to our dog Chloe.
What is your favorite Chloe moment?
I have so many favorite Chloe moments. And by the way, if you're not following us on Instagram, our handle is _pop. Definitely follow us because that's where we try to post some Chloe the TruthPup videos when we can. But what's your favorite moment?
My favorite moment would have to be on April Fool's. And we were trying to get audio from her because, of course, she took over our podcast. It was a couple years ago, right?
Yeah.
And we were trying to get her to like cry and moan. So she wasn't able to jump up on our bed. So we were sitting on the bed specifically teasing her so she couldn't jump up. And she wanted us to pick her up to jump up. And so she was getting so frustrated. And eventually she just jumped right up. And ever since then, she's been able to jump up on the bed on her own. So it took a little bit of that teasing her to get her to do that.
So my favorite Chloe moment is definitely when we were living in St. Louis. You remember, babe, that one of our neighbors, very kind person, and she had this bulldog. And when I say bulldog, I mean a bulldog for sure. Chloe was not a fan at all. I don't know if you could say she was scared, threatened, angry. I don't, maybe all of the above, all the emotions, all the feels right there. So every single time we heard this bulldog breathing heavily nearby, we just made a run for it because as soon as Chloe would lay her eyes on this poor bulldog, that was it. You would have thought that it was the end of the world. She would just lose it. So one night I remember that we're hanging out in our apartment and for some reason or another, we had the door open. I think we were about to leave, right? So we open up the door and there comes Hubble just walking past the door and it turns out he's off leash. So he just comes walking into our apartment towards Chloe's water dish and starts drinking out of the dish. Yes, basically seemed like there was a new world war that was about to break out.
Yes, I remember that.
Yes, so that it took a little while to calm her down, but eventually a year or so later, she did calm down. And so, yes, be sure again to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, search TruthPup. Would love to have you connected there. You can always send us your questions. If you have faith-related questions, just want to get to know us more. If you have a prayer request, hit the contact tab on our website at truthpop.net. Our website is where you can listen to our podcast, get Truth Pop Radio to listen to Christian music throughout the day. We'd just love to get to know you and welcome you into the Truth Pop family. We're so grateful for you, for your support. Be sure to subscribe, rate the podcast, and just know that we are here praying for you every step of the way.
This is the Truth Pop Podcast. Fill your faith.